Hey, I am coming to you from my brand new Mitre Saw Station worktop. So excited. This thing's finally coming together. And one of the final things I have to do is the drawer fronts on it. So I have 2 sheets of MDF that I painstakingly carried in from the car. Boy, those things are heavy. And I have them ready to go on the Bora centipede, or I'll never know the name of it. Centipede, I think I'm going to call it centipede. I have it on top of the worktop, ready to cut. I've measured everything out I need, so let's get cutting. And then painting. No, first undercoating, then painting. Oh my God, it never stops. Anyway, let's cut to it. So we cut down initially on the track saw, the large sheets of MDF, just to rough sizes with the intention of cutting it down to their final dimensions on the table saw. I haven't cut the widths just yet, just about to get to that now, but I just wanted to kind of maybe apologize a little bit because that time lapse looked super bright, but we'll see how it comes up in the final edit. Working with MDF is just horrendous stuff. So I have the air filter on full, I have a little fan blowing all the stuff out the garage door there, and I had my dust mask on at the same time, and even still it just feels, ugh, makes me feel all disgusting kind of thinking about all the chemicals and all that junk that's in here. Anyway, that's done now. So what I need to do now is just chop them up to their final widths. Because that track saw, you never know whether you're cutting in exact square to the factory edges. What we've done is we know these 2 lines are absolutely parallel. I deliberately left 10 millimeters on each side of the drawer fronts themselves. So if I know this is square and I know my table saw micro jig or Craig jig is square as well, then if I take a reference off this edge and cut up here, I know that this one's going to be square to here and also going to be square to there. Then what I do, I flip it around and then use that same reference edge to cut up here again to its final dimension. And this, hopefully, should be perfectly square to fit in as a drawer slide. So let's cut to that now. Right, so one of the final components and one of the final tasks is putting on drawer faces. So they're finally dry and painted, and I quite like the color of them, so I'm keen to see your opinion as well. But the thing I cannot decide on is what drawer pulls I actually want. So I don't think I want ones that stick out, because I know I'm going to bump them. So you can get ones that kind of curve around, but for 40 something drawers, it's going to be quite an expensive exercise. Now, I thought I'd 3D print some, and I 3D printed a few mock-ups, and I quite like them and I quite don't like them at the same time, so I don't really know exactly which one to go for. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is just leave this bit of tape that I have on, and that's a pretty cheap drawer pull to have, until I finally decide exactly which drawer pull that I want, and then I'll just take them off and then attach them, and that's pretty straightforward. But for now, let me just put the drawer faces on, and all I'm doing is, it's pretty simple. I'm going to align it with the base and put the drawer front on. I've already pre-drilled, and there's a couple of screws just sticking their pointy head out here, which I can press in so it doesn't wobble around, and then I'm just going to drive those screws in, and then I'm going to have the drawer faces on. So let's cut to me doing that. All right, there's a slight change of plan. What I'm going to do is space out evenly the drawer fronts with cards, and then I'm just going to take a brad nail and pin nail them in. And I want to do a final coat over the top once they're all in, because there's been some scratches here and there, and I think I could just touch up those little bits, or I could just give the whole thing just one final coat, and there we go. And it'll be a lot easier just to roll them on when they're actually on the carcasses themselves. So frustrating, otherwise it's going to take far too long for me to align every single drawer, and I just pulled one out and found out that the bottom of the back of a drawer droops a little bit, so I've got to play around with it so much. So I think this might be a slightly better way. I can align it all and have a look at it as it all looks, tack nail it in entirely, pull each one out carefully, and then drill in from the rear. So let's give that a go now. Hopefully it works. So that's it, and thank you so much for sticking around with me while I've been building this Mitre Saw Station. I'm pretty impressed and pretty stoked that I genuinely spent the extra time and energy into just making it a little bit more high quality than just slapping some stuff together. I think it came out really well. I'm proud of it, and I hope you like it too. And if you do like it, please add a comment saying, hey, that's really good, or I would have done this a little bit differently, and that's cool as well. I suppose, you know, there's a million and one ways to do woodworking, right? So it's not the conclusion of the build series itself, or the workshop build series, because I still am eyeing off a few empty walls behind the camera here, and I have some plans. I'm kind of just going through my head exactly what I want to do, but I think I have it all thought out exactly what I want to do. And also I need to finish off the upper cabinets. Now that I have the color scheme, I'm going to do those upper cabinets, and that's going to be on the next episode. So like and subscribe and stick around for that one. The Mitre Saw Station itself, it was funny because there's a few lessons learned, and it's like you need a workshop to build a workshop, because all your tools need to be there in order for you to make square cuts, this cut, that cut, and everything just genuinely took a little bit longer, because in my mind I was like, I know where I have this tool, I know where I have that pencil or that ruler or that square or this or the miter saw, for example, and it was in the container at the back in the bottom box or top box or something like that. So it's almost like I wish I had a workshop at the front of the house so I could build the workshop at the back of the house, but that's just not how it works sometimes. There's a few lessons learned also around the dogs and the MFT table. The MFT table is made perfectly, but when I was using it, some of the cuts were not made perfectly square, and I was a little bit frustrating. So I was racking my brain, how could this possibly happen? Measured, triple measured, quadruple measured the MFT, and in the end what it was some of those dogs that I used in the track saw rails, they weren't aligning properly in a groove because I had a bit of dirt and grime. So it's entirely my fault for not cleaning it and not realizing it and not triple checking that those things were perfectly aligned. But I will reach out to Oz Dogs, where I got those specific dogs from, and just say, hey, the certain little lip probably needs to be made a little bit higher, just to stop that happening in the future, because naturally sawdust and oil from your fingers and all that kind of stuff like that from handling it just tends to build up things there. And that meant that the cuts were just out by like 1 millimeter. So the carcass sides themselves were literally just a little bit off square. And that's where I spent a little bit of extra time when I was constructing them. And that's when I said, hey, if things are not really quite right, you can refit in. But thankfully the stretches themselves were completely bang on, 100% square and 100% the same size from one another as well. So I made them conform their carcass size to them. So I might remake this Mitre Saw Station itself, because I've been toying around in my head exactly what I might be doing in the longer term, specifically around dust collection. And I know that Shop Nation is really big on dust collection, and the guy's been amazing at creating really cool custom 3D printed models for a whole bunch of Mitre Saws. I haven't seen one for the Festool yet, so it'd be great if you did make one for that one. So please, it'll be great, because that might save me a lot of work in the future if I could just solve it that way. But I have been thinking about actually having Mitre Saw dust collection at the base of it and also at the back of it, and I'm going to bring down a pipe here later on. So the Mitre Saw Station is not quite finished yet. I still need to work on the dust collection and the ducting work to kind of come down here, but that's definitely going to be in a future episode. But I want to work all that out before I draw it out and everything, but especially before I make more pocket holes for drawers. So speaking of pocket holes, I realized that I really do not like pocket holes. They're great, they serve a purpose, easier than dovetails and all those kind of things for fine woodworking. I think it's just, I really got over them. And I did the maths, and I can't believe it, I did 972 pocket holes in total for this Mitre Saw Station build. So that's quite a lot, and I really didn't enjoy it. And I want to not make pocket holes for a while, so when I come back to it, it's not going to be that bad. And overall, I'm really happy that I did put in the extra few days. It's probably about an extra week in total, just a little bit of extra energy to make this a beautiful Mitre Saw Station. So when I walk inside the workshop, the first thing I see is that Mitre Saw Station, and it really warms my heart just to see a really nice, beautifully laid out, aesthetically pleasing Mitre Saw Station. So I'm really happy I spent the extra effort, and I do genuinely encourage all of you just to spend the extra few days, extra couple of coats of paint or extra couple of days of thinking about how you might do certain things. Previously, my old Mitre Saw was just slapped together, and it was okay, it was functional, but every single time I went into the workshop, I was like, I really need to redo that thing, right? And I genuinely want this workshop to be a place I want to hang out in and I want to come into, especially after, you know, after a really tough week in the office or whatever, and you want to come in, you just want to relax, switch off and do something with your hands. Having a really nice place to work in is so beneficial, and I strongly encourage each and every single one of you to just spend that little bit of extra effort just making your workshop as nice as possible. Anyway, that's a long-winded rant, and if you did stick around this long, so thank you. But like and subscribe and all those good things. I do have a ton of more content and so many things kind of rattling up in the old brain about next projects, and I might start doing some stuff in the house as well to actually get a bit of return on investment for the workshop and justify that back to the family, saying, see, it was worth it, and we're building some stuff here and there. And please do leave a comment. I really enjoy responding to each and every single one of the comments and interacting with you all. And I'll see you all in the next one. So take care of yourselves. Bye.